Hi, so we're going to have a look at the special edition of Question Time that was broadcast on Thursday to coincide with the 7th anniversary of the running of the Brexit referendum. As you probably know, it was filmed in Clacton, which was a strong Leave voting area. Something like 68% of voters voted to leave the EU, and the audience was only open to leavers. So I thought it'd be good to maybe have a look at some of the comments that were made by this predominantly Leave audience, and we're going to start with probably the one that's had the most coverage, and that is the woman who voted to leave the EU because she didn't like it that German roofers went on the roof with nothing or something.
Out of Brexit was because we seemed to keep to all of the rules, and many foreign countries didn't. I'm just talking about people that go up on roofs, for one thing. We kept, when they brought the rules in about the safety guards, we took that on board. But when you went to France or Germany or something, they were all up on their roofs with nothing. And we were paying the cost of having to do it the right way, and they weren't. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I voted to come out.
Well, there you go. It's really difficult to understand where that comes from, and that this person has made a decision that's affected all our lives based on, well, nonsense really. Should we really be mocking people like this, because we're often accused of being condescending? Well, I think the thing is, she asked to go on to a television program. She volunteered to speak on national TV, so I think she's fair game. The second clip we're going to look at is if you've ever been on a street stall, we always get somebody like this, somebody whose personal experience, things they've seen personally themselves, outweigh any other facts that you might put to them, and I call this one benefits man.
When I voted to leave, one of the reasons I voted to leave was to manage our own borders and stop people coming into this country as and when they felt like it. I've seen people entering this country and going straight down to the benefits office. That's what I have seen in the course of my employment.
I mean, the point with this one is he hasn't seen people coming to this country and then going straight down to the benefits office for benefits. It's just not happened. But you won't persuade this guy otherwise. I think it's fair to say that not all of the audience were, I don't know, for want of a better word, gammon. There were sensible people in the audience, people who voted leave and are now looking at it and thinking, well, what were we promised? Where is everything that we were promised? This particular chap, it makes the point that now all Brexiters do is to try and prove that things haven't got any worse. As he says, where are the benefits?
We were told we were going to be 350 million better off on the side of a big red bus. We're now asking people who still believe in Brexit to prove it hasn't got any worse. I don't see any benefit from it all.
So the way you're phrasing that question, I'm assuming that you would vote differently now.
Very much so.
And just tell me why that is.
I don't see any benefit. When I look back at the government that we had then, and I look at David Cameron and who was involved then, and now I look at the government that we've got now, I look at, Boris Johnson, Nadine Dorries, Jacob Rees-Mogg, that type of government, I've got no faith in them.
Okay.
So what about the panel? Well, it was interesting that no senior government minister or senior Brexiter in the government was brave enough to come along. On the side of the government, on the side of the Tories, Sir John Redwood came along, who very quickly collapsed when he claimed that he had never said that one of the benefits of Brexit would be that we would get a trade deal from the USA. That was very quickly quashed.
In 2019, you were elected on a manifesto that said there would be a quick trade deal with the United States of America. So where is it?
Well, I didn't say that.
And it's very helpful that the new president thinks he can help fast track a free trade agreement over and above World Trade Organization terms to improve the flows of UK-US trade. The US is already our single biggest country trading partner. And it's a successful trade, pretty even both ways. We sell them roughly the same amount that they sell us. And I think it's because it's fair trade and it's working trade, the President of the United States likes it, and there'll be goodwill on both sides. So let's get on and have a decent free trade agreement.
So as for Labour, they sent along the MP Jenny Chapman, and unfortunately and rather disappointingly, she just really launched into the new Labour trope of make Brexit work, let's not look into the past, let's not fight these battles again. This is what she had to say.
Looking forward, as Fiona just said, is sometimes what we're failing to do when we talk about Brexit. And it's all about reliving, was I lied to, was this or that true, was there a promise, and was that promise been delivered? And I just think, really now, in 2023, after everything we've been through with COVID, that looking forward is what we have to be doing.
So well, let's do it then. So the question is, there's an election, we get that point, and I think that's exactly the point Josh was making. So there's an election looming. What is the Labour Brexit strategy?
What we need to do is to make Brexit work, because we have left the EU, and the Labour Party is not going to have another referendum. It's not going to take us back into the EU. We're not going to be joining the single market or the customs union. I'm so sorry, Alistair.
I think this is something we've really got to challenge and push back with Labour, because the Rejoin movement is not about fighting the 2016 referendum again. It's not about looking backwards. The Rejoin movement is about looking forwards to a Britain that has a brighter future, back in the European Union, back at the top table, and that's really what we need to be stressing. Maybe the most prominent Brexiter on the panel was the ridiculous Ben Habib, ex-MEP and ex-member of the Brexit Party Limited. It's been well covered that he basically supported Brexit because he thought that would force property prices down in London, which would give his company the opportunity to buy cheap properties. In answering a point made by one of the audience who said that Brexit had damaged his business, he basically said, no, it hasn't. And then in the end, and claimed also that the cost of living crisis has nothing to do with Brexit. But then Wakefield economist Anand Menon had to intervene and school him onto why Brexit has made the cost of living crisis even worse, and why it has affected Lewis's business.
The cost of living crisis has absolutely nothing to do with Brexit.
Well, even when you hear the man there who's running it, Lewis is saying it's made his business more difficult. You're saying, no, it hasn't.
I mean, the evidence...
I mean, that's the reality for him.
No, it is.
Sorry, just one thing I wanted to come back on is it was the mention of the pounds and things like that. It's the pounds and the pence that matter to my customers, and the savings that I have to pass on, I can't do anymore because the very red tape.
I haven't addressed the actual question, so...
Well, I just want you to address Lewis, because Lewis is saying it's made his business more difficult. You're saying, no, it hasn't made business more difficult.
Lewis, it may have made your business more difficult. Yeah. It may have done. And, of course, there'll be anecdotal evidence of that in a lot of businesses. Okay. But clearly, overall, it hasn't had that impact.
The crucial thing is, if our trade hadn't been as affected by Brexit, we would see our trade performing like that of our nearest comparators. And what has happened post-COVID is there is a gap between our trading performance and theirs, because theirs has gone up significantly more. And it's very hard when thinking about that to think that's anything other than...
No, but Anand...
Okay, I'm going to let other people come
Just on Ben's other point, it seems curious when you're talking about we didn't leave properly. I mean, Lewis there is saying there is red tape. By leaving properly, as you say, you're adding tariffs onto that red tape. You're making his life harder and more expensive.
Okay, well, let's...
Thankfully, there was one voice of reason on the panel, and that was, of course, Alistair Campbell. And that's the clip we're going to finish with, Alistair Campbell talking about the future and pointing out that what one generation has done, another generation can undo.
I do think it's worth pointing out that at a time of this anniversary, 7 years on, at a time of a cost of living crisis, not to have somebody from the government here is utterly scandalous and is a shame. And I think it's an insult to you. And I'm not going to speak about we know what the Conservative strategy is, even if they don't. But I do think for Labour, I desperately want Labour to win. They kicked me out of the party for being a bit too extreme on Brexit in their view. But the only thing I'd say is there's a famous ice hockey player called Wayne Gretzky. And he said that what made him a great player was that he always skated to where the puck is going and not where it was. And I just feel we're here in Clacton. 20% of you have changed your mind. 10% of you thinking about it. And those children I saw this afternoon, they all want to keep the option open that one day we will regain our future in the European Union. I understand why Labour don't want to do it now, and I'm not going to criticise them for doing that. But I think that there is a real danger, if we're not careful, we are going to reduce this country for the long term, not just to the second tier of international relations that this lady was talking about, but to the third and the fourth tier. I honestly believe this is one of the biggest acts of self-harm that we as a country have ever inflicted upon ourselves. I don't think Labour should be going to that place, but I do believe that what one generation did, the next generation has the right to undo, and those children today made me think they should go for it.
So that's our look at the special referendum anniversary question time. I hope you found it useful. Before you go, don't forget to give the video the thumbs up and to subscribe to us, and I'll see you next time. Bye.